Rachel Haynes from CTV National News. In your remarks, you spoke about being inspired by President Zelensky's courage and resolve. He has spoken about being on Vladimir Putin's hit list and is preparing for that as a possibility as Russian troops move in. Do you believe that the additional sanctions that you are announcing today will be enough to prevent that from happening?
The world has responded in an unprecedentedly united and coordinated way to respond to Vladimir Putin's grave mistake. He has underestimated the resolve and the ability of Western democracies to stand up to defend not just our friends, but our values, our principles, and indeed the unprecedented period of peace and stability that has lasted over 75 years because of the rules and systems we put in place following World War II. Putin has chosen to upend 75 years of peace by invading a peaceful, unprovocative neighbor, and we are responding strongly and in a united way. The courage that President Zelensky and indeed all Ukrainians are showing in standing up to defend their homelands, to demonstrate that Vladimir Putin is wrong in the choice that he made, is inspiring. And with the sanctions that we're bringing forward on Vladimir Putin personally today, not just Canada, but other countries around the world, we're demonstrating that Putin's own personal wealth and his wealth that is being cared for by others is at significant risk because of his terrible mistake.
And as a follow-up, in your remarks, you also mentioned trying to get Russia out of the SWIFT system in Europe. When you just answered me talking about a united and coordinated approach, but there are a number of European countries who aren't willing to take that step yet. So what is your message to those countries who have not shown that same interest in kicking Russia out of SWIFT?
Russia has demonstrated a callous disregard for the systems and indeed the peace that we have fought for and won over the past 75 years. Peace that led to, yes, unprecedented safety and security for citizens in Europe and indeed around the world, but also led to unprecedented prosperity and growth for people in Europe and around the world. He cannot expect to overturn and end 75 years of peace with a violent and unprovoked attack on an innocent neighbor and still expect to be able to benefit from the financial systems and economic opportunities that that very peace has created over the past 75 years. So Canada, the UK, and a number of other countries are being very clear that the SWIFT system should be removed from Russia, and those conversations are ongoing with our European allies who are reflecting on this very carefully, as you've said.
We'll turn to a question from the phone now. I believe we should have David Aiken, Global News. My apologies. It looks like Émilie Bergeron, La Presse Canadienne.
Oui, bonjour, désolé, j'avais de la misère avec mon micro. Good afternoon, I had some trouble with my mic. Mr. Trudeau, let's come back to the numerous people trying to flee Ukraine at this time. You announced measures yesterday to prepare for their arrival. Looking at what happened in Afghanistan, some people may doubt that those measures will be sufficient. They may fear a similar scenario to what we saw in Afghanistan. What can you tell them to reassure them? Answer. First of all, we have prepared tools to help people in Afghanistan, and those same tools could be used here for the Ukraine case. At the same time, we must recognize that the situation is very different. We have allied countries who are working with us, and we have been able to prepare Canadians and allies who will be ready to receive people fleeing. We are preparing citizenship and the right conditions to speed up their exit. But most of the people now leaving Ukraine will, first of all, transit through other European countries because of proximity. They could get there by vehicle or on foot at some point. Subsequently, in the weeks and months to come, some people may want to come here with their families and to meet the Ukrainian community here. As Minister Fraser said, we will have the tools to be able to help them. Follow-up question. We have the Association of Immigration Lawyers. They made an announcement yesterday about immigration, and they're saying that those measures are not enough and do not resolve all the problems that could be encountered by people trying to flee Ukraine, even if they could transit through other countries. So, are you ready to take any additional immigration measures? Are you looking into that? Answer. Absolutely. As Minister Fraser said, and I repeat, we are open to doing more to help even more people. We are closely following the situation. As you know, all these happened extremely fast on the field. Many people were determined to remain in Ukraine because they were not sure that Russia will do the unimaginable and invade Ukraine. Now that Russia has invaded Ukraine, they are leaving. But it's going to take some time to find out who will want to come to Canada, who will wait in a neighboring country, hoping to go back to their homes in the weeks ahead. So all this is happening while we are working with our neighbors. What Canadians need to know, and it's no surprise, is that we will be there to help those who want to flee and who want to come and start a new life in Canada. That is something that we are working on to help all those who are looking for a better future.
We have one more question for the Prime Minister on the phone. Tonda McCharles, Toronto Star.
Thanks for taking my question. Prime Minister, the sanctions on Putin and his top aides there and Lavrov, can you talk about what actual impact you see this having? I mean, since no sanctions to date have deterred him in any way, do you have any reason to believe that he holds any assets, he or any of his circle hold any assets in Canada, that anything in a practical way will be affected?
First of all, Vladimir Putin has been in power in Russia for around 20 years, and regardless of the lack of respect for international norms and the behaviors in the past, including invading Crimea, we have not ever taken as a global community the step of sanctioning him personally. This is a significant step, and it has its impact in the fact that we are all, as Western countries, united and aligned on this. This goes directly at President Putin's considerable personal wealth, and you're absolutely right. He does not have much, if anything, in terms of personal holdings in Canada, but it's also going to be extremely important that we show a level of unity, a level of collaboration and firmness around the world, and prevent any loopholes from him trying to move money to places where he doesn't currently have money. It is an indication that Putin has made a terrible miscalculation in invading another sovereign country, because the response of the world has been firm, unequivocal, and directed at him and those who have enabled this wrong-headed and terrible decision to invade a neighboring country.
And as a follow-up, could you elaborate on your reasons perhaps for not taking some other steps, such as immediately either expelling any Russian diplomats from this country, or why you haven't immediately deployed the 3,400 that you've put on standby, given NATO's statement today?
First of all, as we've said, we continue to work closely with our allies on potential next steps, on things to do in the days and weeks to come. We recognize that this is unlikely to end quickly. We will need to be firm and resolved over possibly the long haul, and we are. But that's why putting things in place in the right order and the right sequence is extremely important. On NATO, I can tell you from the meeting we had this morning, allies are all resolved and resolute that we are there to protect Europe's eastern flank, to demonstrate that the alliance is strong and ready to respond were Putin to make the mistake of choosing to invade a NATO ally. And on top of that, that we are strong and united in our condemnation of their invasion of Ukraine. This is something we are going to continue to do, and part of that means being there to mobilize further forces to guard NATO's eastern flank, which Canada has, as most members have in NATO, put more troops at the disposal of NATO command to be able to demonstrate our resolve on this. On the issue of sanctions, I'm happy to turn it over to Minister Joly, who's been working extremely hard these past days and weeks to make sure that the sanction package is as strong as possible, as quick as possible, but also as seamlessly united amongst partners as it has been. Mélanie.
Thank you, Prime Minister. Thank you, Tonda, for your questions. So on question of sanctions, today is an important day because it follows everything that we've done over the entire week, which is sanctioning people that are involved in this conflict, that are decision makers, not only President Putin today, but also now the foreign minister, the justice minister, the minister of finance, and also the minister of defense of Russia are now sanctioned, not only by Canada, but by the entire West. President Lukashenko of Belarus had been already sanctioned last summer. Now we are also making sure that his guard around him are sanctioned. And why we're doing that? Because we want to make sure that we're suffocating the Russian regime. That's our goal. And we know that this has an impact in terms of their own decision making, but we know also that we need to work all together in a united West to make that happen. The Prime Minister mentioned definitely the fact of not having any form of loopholes. That's important, but also we're looking at different methods, including creative methods, to make sure that we are putting maximum pressure on Russia right now. On the question of consular, I just wanted to, for Canada, it's important to have an ambassador right now in Russia. You heard the Prime Minister's speech. It is important for Russians to understand what is happening in Ukraine. The Deputy Prime Minister spoke in Russian yesterday, talked to the people in Russia. It is important that we reach out to them. 2,000 protesters were arrested by the Russian regime yesterday. It is important that the opposition within Russia is able to have access to facts. And my message also to Canadians that have families and friends in Russia, please tell them what you're seeing right now through our independent media. Please tell them what's happening in Ukraine. They need to know, and they need to talk to their friends and family. Thank you.